Hey y'all, it's Megan Pittman here, and we are going to get started. We're going to be talking today about how we're going to be talking about interactivity and engagement with and using that technology and digital-based learning to get that interactivity and that engagement. And that is so crucial for us as math teachers, especially at the middle school level. Um, Unfortunately for us, there's so many kids who come through our doors on the first day of school and they've already checked out because math is not their thing. They've struggled with it in the past. It's just boring. I don't understand when I'm going to use this in the real world. And so they just check out, and they're not. These children are this at this day of age is not built for just straight up lecture time. Those days are in the past, and it's time to adapt to the new and students that we have. These students that we have grown up with technology all around them. They are just sponges, and they thrive off of instant gratification and just interactivity. They want to be able to interact with something, and they want to constantly be engaged. Now, whether that is a good thing or a bad thing, and it's a total different topic, but at the end of the day, we're giving these students, and our goal in our mission is to give them the best that we can give. And so that means reaching them where they're at. And so we're going to talk about 3 different apps that I like to use in my classroom to help with that engagement and interactivity. But it also helps not only the students be more engaged, but it helps me be engaged in their learning process as well. And so we're going to talk about some of the benefits and the challenges that I've had and that research has shown with implementing these things. Um, Technology in the classroom and being used for digital-based learning is not a new thing. We think it's a new hot topic, but it's really not. One of the researchers I was reading pointed out the fact that in the 1970s, that the Oregon Trail came to our computer screens, and that teachers used that program to teach their students all about the Oregon Trail and what it was like to be a pioneer and trying to keep your family alive. And so we've really been doing this for decades. It's just we've had so many advancements in technology in the last couple decades that we kind of forgot that we've been doing things like this. It's nothing really new. But thankfully, with advances in technology, it's actually going to make our job as teachers way easier than the years in the past. So one thing I want to start off with is what's the positives? Why care to make sure our students are interactive and that they're engaged with us? Isn't it their job to just come and to learn and for me to teach? Well, yes, it is, but it's just like adults who go to church. If the pastor's not engaging you, you're going to check out in 5 minutes. Your attention span is not long, and neither are our students. So um, I'm going to start off with some research. A researcher by the name of Ryan Juraski wrote an article on how digital game-based learning improves student success. And based off of his research, he found that using digital game-based learning, meaning using technology games to help in the learning process, to practice and things like that, um, improved student success because they were engaged. Like I said before, and what like he stated, students are in a world of technology constantly. They're constantly playing their video games, scrolling social media, things like that. They need that instant gratification. They need to know, did I get it right? Did I get it wrong? Can I play a game with it? Is it fun? And if it's fun and engaging, they're going to participate way longer than giving them just a worksheet. I'm a firm believer that students learn from experiences, and that means providing them either an experience through a game, through an activity, through hands on technology, However, but they're going to remember that memory way better, that experience, than me just giving them a worksheet or a textbook questions to do. So, and research backs that up as well. Ryan even says that digital game based learning keeps students engaged with educational content, and because they're engaged, they're learning and they're wanting to do well. They're wanting to win the prize, they're wanting to win the competition, they're wanting to do this, they're wanting to be able to battle this character. Because they're wanting that and they're getting that gratification, they're going to pay attention. When paying attention is going to also help them to be successful at school. Another benefit to using technology and to keep kids engaged, especially in math, in Ryan states that playing games to practice what's taught in class can help students gain confidence with educational content and relieve things like math anxiety. And you might be like, what? Math anxiety? We're math teachers, so we don't really understand math anxiety. At least most of us don't. But it's a true case for many of our kids. And so when I saw math anxiety, I was like, ooh, let me research that a little bit more. And so as I was researching, I found a lady by the name of Lainey Kennedy who did some research on how attitudes towards math can impact student achievement. And it's shocking how many kids actually have math anxiety. According to her, 17% of Americans suffer from high levels of math anxiety, and that this can begin as early as the age of first grade. And through studies, it was found that relationships between attitudes towards math and learning outcomes are bidirectional, meaning that if you have a positive attitude, you're going to be most likely be successful. If you have a negative attitude, you're most likely going to be unsuccessful. And so many times we see that, and because we see our students go, well, math is for smart people, or that it's boring, or that it's too overwhelming and too complex. Wait a second, you put letters and numbers and they get all freaked out and they just shut down and they stop trying. But the minute you interact and you provide engaging activities, that's going to help alleviate some of that anxiety and help kind of like shed that off of them so that when they come to the table, they're willing to learn. Um, and so not only does it decrease anxiety, but another benefit, according to the International Journal of Serious Games, is that digital game based learning also provides motivation. I don't know about you guys, but ever since the shutdown of the pandemic, my students have epically lost motivation. They do not have intrinsic motivation anymore. It's almost like it needs to be taught. And so that's why I have to come in with bells and whistles every single day and providing these engaging activities every single day because I need to motivate these children. Children who are motivated are more likely to be successful, and math research says. Um, Not only does it provide motivation for the students, and the students are getting a lot out of it, it also is good for me as the teacher. Me as the teacher, these digital based learning games and activities are constantly tracking data for me. I'm not having to record this data on a sheet anymore and stress out about checking in with every kid constantly in one class period. It's doing it for me. It's so that I can focus on the data, I can process the data, and go ahead and start implementing um, reinforcements for those students. It also helps with differentiation. That had classrooms where I've had kids from a first grade math level to a 10th grade math level all in the same classroom. And reaching those students can be very hard, from either enriching the kids to remediating and filling gaps. It's nearly impossible to do on top of all the standards that we're giving every year. And thankfully, having programs like Prodigy and Quizzes and GymKit and several other digital based learning games and just digital learning based platforms, we're able to do differentiation at a click of a button. Um, there's even digital platforms that will automatically do the differentiation for you, like MobyMax. The kids will can take an assessment, and then within the assessment, it'll identify all the standards that the child has missed, and it'll automatically start assigning them what I call gap fillers. And if there are no gaps, then they're going to start accelerating the child. And so it's doing it all of that and alleviating that from me as the teacher, giving me more time to focus on my students, um, and what they need. Another big huge positive is that they get instant feedback. Students today are looking for instant gratification, um, and because they are looking for instant gratification, they need to know, am I doing this right? Am I doing this right? Researcher Manuel and several of his colleagues did a study and found the importance of instant feedback, and that students perform better when they are provided with instant feedback versus delayed feedback. So if I give a kid a worksheet, I have to check that worksheet and turn around, and what happens if the kids got them all every single problem wrong? They've just worked 25 problems all wrong, and now it's the end of the class period. But if they can practice on the computer and the computer alerts them and me saying, hey, look out, they're not doing it right, then I can immediately intervene, or the computer can immediately intervene, and we can work together to reach that kid before they leave my classroom that day. Um, like I said, it also helps with progress monitoring. Um, and through progress monitoring and um, instant feedback, according to Jordan Nisbet, 14% of learning gains um, can take place if those two things are provided. Um, and so it's important that when they get that immediate feedback, and that I'm monitoring it, and I can help them master their skills, and we'll get into mastery later. But I've talked a lot, and I want to show y'all some of my top 3 apps and why I like them. So to engage my students, if we're doing a review or something like that, I'm going to use quizzes. Or if we need some quick practice, I give them a quizzes. I like to do quizzes as teacher based, so I can come to you can create a lesson, you can create a quiz, you can tile it, and then they also have a question library that you can pull from. So if you don't have time to just create all your own questions, they have a plethora of questions to pull from. And then you have the option, you can either do it student paced or teacher paced. With teacher paced, that is, I can stand in the front and I can launch the question, and then they're all racing to get the answer right. I usually use whiteboards for them to record their answers on, and they submit their answers, and then it shows a leaderboard for who has the most points, and then it also shows me instantly a graph of how many got the answer right and how many got the answer wrong, and what answer choices were selected. This is big. This goes back to that instant feedback that Nisbet and Manuel were talking about. I can instantly go over any questions. Now, if everybody gets it right, I don't have to go over it. But if there's like a big, huge red flag, I know, ooh, this concept, we need to go over this again. So I really like quizzes. I also like quizzes because it does have a free subscription and it does have a paid premium subscription. You can do just about everything you want to do with quizzes. The only thing is, with premium, you do have to pay. It's about $100 a year, I think. I can't remember. Don't quote me on it. But you can unlock like assignments and things like that, and so it has a few extra benefits to it, But really, the free version is fantastic. The kids get excited with it. I've also used it with Trash Get Ball. So I've implemented not only technology, but like games like either Trash Get Ball or Connect Four, or some really cool, exciting games like that. It can be used on any device. It can be used on their phones, it can be used on their Chromebooks, it can be used on a regular computer, a tablet, anything like that. And it's super easy, user friendly. The kids can use it easily, teachers can use it easily. And if you don't know how to use it, there's always a help button. It's not pulling up down here, but there's, oh, right there it is, a help button, and then you can go instantly and find what you want. But it's pretty user friendly. Um, and so, yeah. The other app that I really like and that the kids really like is Prodigy. Now, Prodigy, if you don't know, it's a free game. And so they just incorporated ELA into it, but they have math. And what I like about Prodigy is that it aligns with my state standards, our state standards. And so I can make sure that they're doing the standards that align with what Georgia's doing, and that they're not off somewhere doing whatever like Alaska or something's doing. And so you can come in and you can either choose to play, and you can see how it look on a student. So another thing is it logs in with Google, and every single one of these devices that I show you can be logged in with Google. So if they have a Google account, that's great, or with Clever, and it's all linked to Google Classroom, which is what we use a lot. So if you come here and if you hit play, you can choose math or ELA. As you can see, it puts them basically into a virtual reality. And so they'll have to have a teacher code, and they would just go here and type in their class code. Once they type in that class code, they're instantly going to receive the assignments that you create for them. If they don't use the class code, then it's just going to generate things based off of their age and their grade level. Um, and sometimes that's not exactly aligned with what you have. So once they enter the class code, they can choose to play from either school or home, doesn't really matter. And then they have these different worlds that they can visit. And in these worlds, they'll battle different characters. And in order to battle the character, they have to answer questions correctly. And it will provide immediate feedback. Now, if they get it wrong, it'll give them a hint as to why they got it wrong, and it'll give them a second chance. And then if they get it a third time, then it'll explain the whole entire time, like whole entire problem to them, as well as provide like helpful hints and remediation type activities. Um, but what I like it for also, the kids really love this. They get really excited about it. Um, I like it as a teacher. I'm going to show you my teacher login page. As a teacher, I can come in, and this is my dashboard. And at the bottom of my dashboard, I can tell based off of the weekly assignments that I give them um, what we're understanding and what we're not. Red is obviously they didn't get it right, yellow is kind of and green is like we're good to go on this standard. So, but if I ever have questions or anything, it has a great little help station down here, which is awesome. This can also be played on all devices as well, and it's completely free, which is awesome. I can come over here to assessments. As you can see here, I created an assessment this past week over integers in the coordinate plane. If I want to create an assessment, I can come here and I can either do based off of just a set of skills or just give them our milestones prep. But I don't do that usually until the end of the year. I really like to keep my students within a standard because I'm picky and I want to know what kind of questions they're being asked. So I can go here and I can select what other domain I want. We're going to ratios next. And I can come in and I can select here. Okay. And that's going to keep them within a standard. If I want to like hand pick, here, let me cancel that out. If I want to create like an actual assignment of various different standards, then I can come here. And like if I wanted to do shapes, let's just say I do shapes, and I want to see what kind of questions they're going to be asked, I can hover over here, this little preview eye, and it's going to show me what type of questions they're going to get. Because sometimes I like to give them questions that are more advanced, but then sometimes I'm like, they're not quite ready for that yet. So I dial it back and I try to give them a little bit easier one sometimes. Or I try to put a range in. And then so you can set up the date and the times and all of that. And you can also assign it as homework. I get more homework back and completed when I have Prodigy assignments versus homework assignments. Um, they love it. They get to play a game. If they're successful, it gives them immediate feedback, and it gives. And what happens is, I want to pull it. As a teacher, I can pull a report here, and it's going to tell me all these right here of who got what wrong and who got what right, and it also breaks it down by question, and it allows me to see who got question one right and what they answered, which is awesome. So yeah, I really like Prodigy. The other one, that when I asked my kids which ones they like the best, they really like Gym Kit. Gym Kit has a lot of fun, different activities and games that they're familiar with and they like to do. And so all you have to do, this is also free, and you can create different assignments, or you can use kits that are already pre-made. So I can come over here and create a new kit. As you can see, I created one 19 days ago about integers. I have the option. It works a lot like Quizzes, but there gives them a game in with it. So I can assign them a homework, and if I assign them a homework, I pick what game they want to play. But what we really like to do is to play live, and they have so many options of different games that you can play. They really like Trust No One because it's inspired by Among Us. And so, like, the kids stretch out all over the room. And you talk about engagement, that is very intense in the room when we're playing several of these. And one thing I really like about it is that I can play along with them. So that's really cool. So, yeah, those are my three favorites that I like to use in my classroom. But the key to using this technology is making sure that it's not taking the place of your teaching. That using this technology is a tool. It should not take our place of teaching. It's a means of practice. We still have to deliver the information to them, but this allows them to practice in a way that is engaging and that receives, like, once again, that immediate feedback. According to Jinwan Chen and several of his colleagues, um, this technology is a tool that empowers great teaching. It allows for that immediate feedback and allows for real-time data and differentiated instruction, which are all very important, and we all know we're supposed to do, but sometimes it's very taxing and almost nearly impossible to do it. This allows it to happen, and it allows me to be free to travel around and to see in live time how my students are doing and how to go ahead and take care of those issues without letting them slide. So many times kids can fall between the cracks. This really helps keep kids from falling between the cracks. But I have to use it as my tool. I have to be the one. It's not going to work if I'm not constantly in there trying to be like, hey, you got that one wrong. Let me help you. Hey, let's see if we can figure this out, and yada, yada, yada. Okay? And another thing to remember is that, while reminding that it's a tool, is that it all goes back to Bloom's taxonomy. Maria Campen pulls in when talking about digital learning about Bloom's taxonomy because she talks about the power of mastering learning, and that if a student is able to master an idea and then move on to the next concept, they're going to be more successful. So, using once again this as a tool for students to master learning, to learn as they go, to practice as they go, allows students to go as fast as they want or just keep it slow. And so, going back to the example of where I had a range from first grade level to 10th grade level, my first grade level student cannot get to the sixth. They don't need to be on the sixth grade level learning yet. They've got gaps. And so, by using these tools to master learning, they're able to work at their own pace, which is completely different than every student. And it also allows my advanced student to go shoot for the stars and go as far as possible without being held back by just mundane lecture every day. And so it exposes them and allows them to work at their own pace. So we have to remember that it's a tool, and we can use the tool for several things. We can use it for differentiation, immediate feedback, mastery of learning, and all of that. But it has to be used wisely. We can't just put kids in front of a screen and expect them to learn. There has to be interaction from us because that's what they crave. But this just is a tool to provide that engaging environment. So before you go, I want you to experience what it's like to be engaged. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop in the link a class code for Prodigy, and I have created you an assignment for Prodigy. And so I want you to see why it's engaging here, and see how it works on the kids' end. And maybe it'll help encourage you to go, oh, yeah, I really want to use that in my classroom. So until next time.